Right, another day. That is out. That is out. That cannot go on this yet because I cannot find bolts long enough to fit in there. So to get that engine out using that crane, first off I started doing it here, and the boom was hitting the roof before the sump was clearing this problem. So then I put the engine back in, started moving these pins up and down here to see if moving this back would help. It did not. Now, because I'd already taken the engine off the mounts and disconnected it from the gearbox, the gearbox was hanging down, resting on the cross member, or the transmission support. The engine wasn't sitting on the mounting bolts, it was sitting just on the side, and I realised that the car needed to be pushed all the way out here so that the boom could clear this. Holy dooly. So to stop the transmission from sagging too much, because obviously it was just now, it wasn't bolted, the bell housing wasn't bolted to the engine, it was sagging down, which means I couldn't then put the engine on the engine mounts because it was hitting the bell housing. So to fix that, I had to use the trolley jack under, holding the transmission up, so that then I could get the engine to sit at least on the sides of the mount, which was still connected to the hoist, but realised I needed to push the car back. So what I had to do was push the car back with my hands, with my shin, that shin, that thigh. I had to push the trolley jack lever so that I was pushing the car and the transmission that was sitting on the trolley jack at the same time, as well as with my shoulder pushing the engine stand at the same speed as I'm pushing the car and pushing the trolley jack. Pushing all three at once. I had to push it all the way so the engine was sitting here, and it still didn't fit. So I put the boom on the furthest one, which I think is 250 kilos. I doubt that is any more than 250 kilos, so I think we're good there. And it still just wouldn't fit. That's why there's some chunks taken out there. But I did realise that I could slightly swivel and lift by hand and just get the sump to clear this. But then with the boom up, trying to wheel the engine out backwards to get it out of the engine bay area, the boom was hitting this. So I had to, with the engine free, I had to move the engine hoist back while dropping it slowly, while moving the engine, pivoting the engine around to get over this, and then moving it back, and then dropping it down, and then moving it back. This is where we sit. Engine out, gearbox out. And a great use for the old Max Trax shackles. Seems to work. Assume you can hold that. So now the drive shaft is down there. And let me tell you, to get this spider connection, which sits on the back of this here, that is a bastard to get off. Unless you have dropped, unless you've dropped the gearbox down and unbolted all the tail shaft, that center, I guess that center coupling, you've undone that and you've taken that mount off there, it is a real pain in the ass to get them undone. You can, I realise now, slide it straight off that spindle. So what I had to do was jack the front of the car up, put it on axle stands, which was a bit sketchy because I'm pretty sure that's where the axle stand goes. Right there. That's the jacking point, which is also right where all the rust is. So I was waiting for the trusty old axle stands to poke through the floor. And that would have been a right shit show. So that's where we're at. Tail shaft comes out tomorrow. Alright, I'm going to do a bit of a voiceover here because obviously I'm filming this in time lapse, so there's no audio on this, but just trying to give you an idea of what I was doing here. Every time I raised and dropped that engine, it was smacking into the input shaft coming out the front of the bell housing. So you can see me there jacking up the transmission, trying to get that level again so I could sort of wedge the engine back down enough to sit it on the engine mount so I could sort of readjust how I was pulling that engine out. I guess in hindsight, I look back at this now and I think it would have been such an easy solution just to take some of the links out of those chains, and it probably would have cleared that front radiator support. As you can see right there, it probably would have cleared it pretty easy. But that's hindsight, I guess. If I was doing this again, I'd probably do it a bit differently. But I didn't actually film any of the footage of me actually taking the engine out into the driveway or me pushing everything back, because it was, I think I was over it, and I just wanted to press stop and get the engine out. And so yeah, it was a bit of an effort with the with everything being on the trolley jack and the engine hoist and everything else like that, and having to move all three of them at the same time was a bit like a game of Tetris, I reckon. Everything sort of had to line up and be moved at the same time, but got there in the end, and the engine came out as you saw, so happy days.